So today we're going to talk about the Toyota Tacoma versus the Jeep Gladiator. We're mainly talking about price comparisons between what you're going to get between the two, because you can spend as much as you want and get whatever you want in the world. You can spend $70,000 and get really great off-roading vehicles, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about what can I spend on a new vehicle that'll get me a great off-roading truck. So the Toyota Tacoma, in current market, you can spend $41,971, and this is roughly what you're going to get out of this. The reason why I say $41,971 is the MSRP of a base level TRD Off-Road, I think, is like $38,000 or $37,000, so it's a lower amount, but the dealerships will never order that base model. You'll never get that. You'll never be able to find that. So you got to be more realistic of what you can get. And the dealerships are going to be able to order this model right here. And, $42,000 is what you're going to typically spend for a lower end TRD off-road. Now, when I say lower end, you're not going to get leather seats. There's a couple perks you're not going to get. You are going to get, power seats on the driver's side. So you are going to get some perks, but you're not going to get, leather seats and a couple other things. I don't know what all the options are. But for this base price, you get an automatic transmission. You get a locker in the rear, which is a huge plus. I mean, that's a huge plus for off-roading, mainly for rock crawling and hill climbing. Now, let's talk about what you get on the Jeep Gladiator for the same price. Now, Jeep Gladiator, my buddy has one of these. It's a sport model, and his is a manual because he loves manual transmissions. But what you get out of this is for $46,860. I don't really, and I'll explain why, I don't really agree with this pricing scheme, what they do, because apples to apples, these two trucks are very competitive with each other, what they are. And so $46,000, I'll show you in the window sticker why that's kind of, in a way, it's bloated. So the sale price is $41,000. So that tells you that they are very close to apples what they are. This truck, when you look at the window sticker, you can see, and let me blow this up so you can see it a little better. So when you see apples to apples of this, they're charging for black paint. Who charges for black clear coat paint? Nobody. So that's why I say these numbers are kind of bloated, because no deal or no company charges for black clear coat paint. That's ridiculous. The tow package is an addition. That's $1,895. The Tacoma comes with the tow package by standard, so that's kind of why it's more apples to apples. The floor mats are $170, I guess so. Automatic transmission, you got to pay for an automatic transmission on the Jeep Gladiator, where the Tacoma, that's a standard option. And you pay for the Freedom hardtop, which I get it. That's a pretty nice option. So $1,900 is the only justifiable add-on that you can see on this. Warranty, I think they're both about the same on warranty. But like I said, apples to apples, these two vehicles are very, very competitive. On the Tacoma, you can see here there's almost no options on this truck. There is your tow kit comes standard. You get paint, so that's standard. Mud guards, so your mud flaps are $129. Bed light. This is very similar to what I bought mine with. So you can see there's really no options on here, and the base price is $41,971, and the Jeep's price is $46,000. Which again, when you look at the discount they put on it, it's the same price. So you're getting apples to apples. It's all about wording. So what are the differences between these two? Now that we found two vehicles that you can buy and they're priced competitively the same, what is the difference between these two vehicles? Well, the main difference is the Jeep Gladiator, you can put big tires on it. You can put, you would have to re-gear the Sport, but you could put 35-inch tires on it without massive surgery to the truck. You could put 33-inch tires on it just by throwing them on it. It's easy on the Jeep Gladiator. Just throw 33-inch tires on it. The Tacoma, if you want to put big tires on it, you can put 32-inch tires on it with no modifications. If you put 33-inch tires on it, you need a couple modifications. Now, I've heard that you can put 33-inch tires on it with a 2-inch lift and taking your lower control arm and pushing it forward as far as possible. So adjusting it so it's far forward as you can get it. And I've heard that you can get a 33-inch tire in it that way. You'd have to kind of work with the alignment person to make sure that they can work with your numbers, but mainly your caster settings would have to match but not be in spec, which caster isn't as big of an issue when you're talking about in spec. That's how tight your steering feels, and your camber and your toe is the main things that matter, and they can still work with those numbers. So 33-inch tires, it takes a little bit more on the Toyota Tacoma. One big benefit on the Toyota Tacoma is that locker in the rear. Now, both of these have a brake locking differential type thing. It's not really your differential, it's your brakes that are locking when you get slippage. Both of them have this option, and both of them do it really, really well. I will say the Jeep, I've seen my buddy's Sport out there, and when he's going through the mud or kind of loose rock, that differential, the brake control will lock that loose tire, and it gets him through it really nice. So when he's off camber, he's got a tire up in the air, his truck will pull right through it. So in that situation, the brake differential really, really works. And like I said, the Tacoma has the same thing, so it does a good job too. The one thing the Tacoma does that's better is that rear locking differential. So if you have a rear locking differential, you got two situations that you're going to do better. And it's just fact, you're going to do better on it. One is when you're hill climbing, you're going to have both of those tires locked in the rear. So when you're climbing that hill, you're never going to get a slippage, or hardly ever. It's just going to grab a lot better. So when one wheel slips, it's not going to start slipping and you're going to lose momentum and you're done. You're going to keep both of them on there. When one wheel starts slipping, the other wheel's still got traction, and it's going to keep that momentum going. So the locker is good for going up hills and for rock climbing. So if you've got a lot of like a rock garden and you're going through the rocks and you got to, slowly go through them to make sure you're not destroying your truck. When you have a locker, it helps a lot, because when you start getting off camber and you're articulating over and one wheel comes up and it's about to slip, instead of you losing momentum on that slow crawl, the other wheel still has traction, and it'll pull you forward and get your front wheel over a rock. So it gives you a lot of control in a rock garden. So that's probably the biggest difference between these two trucks. Both of them on these two models, they both have air conditioning, automatic transmissions. They both have all the features. Both of them have sucky tires from the factory, because you can see these tires. They're street tires. So you got to change the tires out. Everybody does it. And you've already seen the comparative pricing on these two trucks. So that's really the biggest differences between these two. One more thing. And this is a big plus for the Jeep Gladiator. The Jeep Gladiator has a solid axle in the front. Now this is a plus and a minus. The solid axle means it's going to run rougher, because you have a lot of weight that's on your spring-loaded weight. And spring-loaded weight, when you're hitting bumps or on the highway, it jars the truck a lot. So you have a ton of weight on the, in the spring-loaded area. It's rough on the highway. Off-roading, they are great. And I'll explain why a solid axle will always be better than independent front suspension. Now, don't get me wrong, IFS, my truck's been doing fine off-road. If you're talking about off-roading capabilities, IFSs are good. They're not as great as a solid axle. Solid axles are great because if you think of the wheels on a truck, and a wheel needs weight to have traction. So the wheel itself has to have the weight behind it to get the traction. It doesn't matter about the truck as much. Truck is the weight that's going to slow you down to lose traction. But if you don't have weight on those wheels and those points of contact, then those wheels will never be able to grab the road. So when you have a solid axle, you're adding a lot of extra weight on that wheel. So when that wheel drops down to grab the road or grab a rock, it is coming with that solid axle with it. So all that weight's coming down, and it has a ton of weight to help the traction. So that's why solid axles are, so much better off-roading, because you have tons of weight for that grip. When you have an independent front suspension, you have the spring weight that's pushing down, but you don't actually have, a lot of physical weight. So don't get me wrong, spring weight is good, but the spring weight is limiting. You don't have, this big solid axle for the weight. So that's the reason why IFS suspension is not as good off-roading. Now, I haven't seen much of a problem because I got a locker. So me and my buddy going out, he's got the Gladiator Sport, and I got the Tacoma TRD Off-Road Edition. We're going out, and we're pretty much going through everything. It's fine. We both got good tires, and you can see the struggles between the locker and not having a locker when you're going up a steep hill or if you're going through a rock garden. The biggest difference we saw was when you're going through a rock garden. That was where the locker makes a big difference. So that's pretty much it for the differences between these two trucks. Looks are a taste thing. Some people love the Tacoma, some people love the Gladiator. That's just what taste you have. For actual off-road capability, both of these trucks are great off-road trucks. It just depends on what you want to do with it. Are you going to be driving it on the highway a lot? Are you going to be driving it around, main roads? Then independent front suspension is kind of nice to have, because you're not going to be feeling these jarring, bumps all the time. So that's why I got it. Another thing too is the Gladiator has a plus and a minus on the roof. You get to remove the roof. That's awesome. I love that. I really wish my roof would come off on the Tacoma, but it doesn't. But there's a minus of it is I don't get any road noise. I don't get the sound of the outside coming in. Just like a convertible, you're going to get tons of noise. So the plus on me is I don't get the noise from a convertible. But minus is I don't have a convertible. I think I wouldn't mind having the convertible on that. But again, I wanted the locker. That's the main reason why I went with the Toyota. So that's it. And if you like what we're doing, please subscribe, and we'll see you next episode.